as I mentioned, Peter Dutton has already signalled his willingness to run for the leadership of the Liberal Party, although last night he wasn't prepared to give too much away.
If the coalition workers today, will you make a bid for the Liberal Party leadership?
My prediction is that the coalition will win today. I think it's going to be tight, but I think for the sake of our country that has to happen.
You have quieter moments, though, Mr Dutton, where you do contemplate the leadership.
I tell you what, for 6 weeks there have been no quiet moments. We just haven't stopped, and that'll continue right up until 6 o'clock tonight.
But of course, since then, the likely next leader, Josh Frydenberg, has almost conceded he won't survive the count in Kooyong. And there aren't too many logical choices. Angus Taylor may put his hand up, and I'd like to see Karen Andrews or maybe even Susan Lee test their support in the party room as well. Let's bring in our feisty news panel, Prue MacSween and Carolyn De Russo. Evening, team.
Hi, Smithy. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Chris. Hi.
Good to have you here. What's next for the Liberal Party, Prue? A new leader or a new set of values? What comes first?
They need a leader straight away. And they need a new set of values. This is probably the best thing that's happened to the Liberal Party and Liberal voters, the conservative Liberal voters, because they lost their way. It was always Labor-lite. The true believers in the Liberal conservative principles have been betrayed, and they demonstrated it tonight or last night. And I just think this is a time that they have to understand that all those Labor-lite Liberal moderates in the seats targeted by teals deserve to go because they were just teal clones, or the teals were clones of them. And, you know, they had a bigger bank balance, let's face it. They were fashionable. So, you know, I think that really if the Liberal Party gets back to its grassroots, no wokeness, let's get bloody nuclear going. Let's get energy, you know, all our fossil fuels going.
Stand for something.
Stand for something. Have the guts to go back to the principles of what traditional Liberal was.
Does the party, Carolyn, go right, more conservative, or does it go down the track of being more embracing of climate change measures, etc., and copy what the teals have presented to the electorate?
I actually think that whole right-left conversation is actually really unhelpful. I don't think now's really the time for just, you know, wallowing in the self-indulgence of ideology. What the Liberal Party does best is when it gets back to its values. There's nothing wrong with its values, but what it needs to do is it needs to create policies which are relevant to the modern world, which embrace those values, and then message that broadly across the community. So, you know, I just think we get back to our bread and butter. Not dissimilar to what Prue said, but the Liberal Party do their best work when they create pragmatic, practical policies which benefit broadly across Australia. So I feel like, particularly at this stage and straight after a campaign, you know, the chewing the fat on ideology for me is just such a waste of time. We need to go back and say, what have we got on the books? Why haven't we been engaging enough with the community? And I know we haven't been engaging enough with the community because they've stopped listening. We need to get back, go and do those things, then build the policy and then message it across and more broadly. Enough of these kind of blokey campaigns. It's not all about tradies. Guess what? There are women out there and they run businesses.
Okay, so what's your Liberal leadership dream team, Prue?
Dutton and Hastie.
Hastie.
I think in this time where we know that national security is so important, and also I believe because they are true Liberal conservatives with conservative values, there's the older generation and the new generation as a mix of that. I think this idea that they have to have a woman as a deputy is tokenism and an insult to women.
So you wouldn't like to see the deputy leader be a woman?
Why? It's just optics. You know, for God's sake, the policies are for all people. You know, even the what is it, male, female and others. And I think let's not worry about whether it's delivered by a woman or not. As long as the policies suit all of us, all sexes, then I haven't got a problem.
OK, but Carolyn, you just mentioned before we got Prue's take on that you thought there was a problem. Too blokey, not enough recognition of what women think about the country and the way it should be run.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we have seen that there is a chunk of the community that we're evidently not engaging with properly. And Chris, you know me well enough to know that I'm not of the view that you just spray vaginas around the place and it fixes all the problems. It's much more. It's more work than that. I mean, that really is token, and we see it happen all the time, and it just doesn't fix things. Look, I think Angus Taylor is fabulous. I think Karen Andrews is fabulous. I think Susan Lay is fabulous. So any kind of combination of those. I really like Peter Dutton, and when you get him, a bit more close up, he's actually very personable and he's got a great sense of humour. He just doesn't seem to translate that well into the electorate. And what we need to do now is to broaden our appeal and not necessarily narrow it.